I'll start. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we're going to continue reading about Srila Prabhupada. We can title this, whatever we titled the last course, and just put number 2. Prabhupada Nectar. I don't know what we titled it. Anybody know? Prabhupada Uvacha. Prabhupada Nectar, Prabhupada something. And then we'll just continue. We'll continue until we finish this book. So I mentioned last week, we were reading from this book that I did not make notes from the beginning. So I went back and read the beginning and I made some notes. Interestingly, a lot of what I made notes of are things that I had read that I had actually talked about previously, paraphrased some statements and so on. So we're going to get to read some of the things. Prabhupada Nectar Part 1. Okay. So it'll be Prabhupada Nectar Part 2. So this is Prabhupada speaking on the moon landing, and Prabhupada said, according to his understanding of the Bhagavatam, they wouldn't be able to reach the moon. And then he also said, you can't reach the moon in a material body. So even he didn't think they went to the planet, but even if they did, the entities on the moon planet do not have bodies made of earth, water, air, and fire. I believe they're made of intelligence or mind. You can try to figure out how a body can be made of mind or intelligence. That's, but mind and intelligence are material elements, so bodies can be made of them. That's what I will say for now. And so, as you could imagine, going to the moon was a big thing. It put America on the map of the first, to go to another planet in the space race against Russia. So that was important, but Prabhupada didn't really believe they went there, or he had doubts. So he said this: you believe they have gone to the moon. You have not gone. You have heard from somebody. In other words, you didn't go. You've heard somebody in the newspaper that they went. That is your authority. So if you can believe in the newspaper, then I cannot believe in Shastra. So Prabhupada was making the point that according to Shastra, 5th canto Bhagavatam, the moon is further from our planet, or from some planet, somewhere in the universe, the moon is further. I always understood it from our planet, moon is further than the sun, and therefore we wouldn't, according to Prabhupada's calculation, they couldn't go there. So the devotee who wrote this has said, the Americans will not accept some of these things you're saying. This is 1966, and Prabhupada said, I'm not going to change the truth for Americans. So now, so there's two things. There's another thing I want to say, but first let's just get this clear. Prabhupada was making the point of, well, who's your authority? That was the real point, whether they went to the moon or not. That's, you can go back to Godhead and believe they went to the moon. It's not going to be a problem. But the problem that Prabhupada's talking about is, who do you accept as authority, the newspaper or the Shastra? So that's the real issue.
Can you make me a host so I can broadcast, please?
I guess Christy will make you the host.
I will do it. It's okay.
So, yeah. So this is the first point. Prabhupada, he's, let's going to the moon is not really the issue. What really comes out of this issue is Prabhupada saying, I read it in Shastra, you read it in the newspaper. So like, which one should we accept? Okay, that's a simple answer, but it was a problem at the time for some devotees. Now, what's also another discussion based on the moon landing, which was quite interesting. And everyone should pay attention, especially any of you who want to share Krishna consciousness with others. One devotee observed that when Prabhupada saw that it was difficult for many devotees to accept such a thing, because it basically, Prabhupada's saying, is your country's lying to you. They couldn't do it and they're just lying. Which, that's wasn't easy. I mean, for some people, it's like, yeah, they lie about everything, But not everybody's like that. Not everybody thinks like that. How could they be lying? How could you say this? No, it's right here in the newspaper. Here's the video. Here's the photos. So it was hard. It was hard for some devotees.
I'm sorry, Gurudev, but can you make me host, please?
Sorry, Guru Maharaj, the Zoom just jumped and it made you host and Anuradha co-host, and I don't have any rights, so I cannot change it. Sorry.
So this devotee said that Prabhupada stopped talking about such things after he saw that it was shaking the devotees up. So I often have a joke, what are the three things you talk about to new people at the side? You're giving a lecture to new people. What are the three things? Well, the first thing is we didn't go to the moon. The second thing is women are less intelligent. And Tanya, what's the third thing? You remember what I said? I think we have a choice of third things we could speak about. How about nobody has any good qualities? How about that? No, there's no love in the material world, or no one has any good qualities, or everyone's an animal, and no one, you're not even a human being. You're not a human being. That would probably be that. That would be, you didn't go to the moon, women are less intelligent, and you guys listening, you're not even human beings. So we had read on Wednesday where Prabhupada said, you have to speak the truth, but you have to speak it in a way in which people can understand it and accept it. And of course, accepting whether or not we went to the moon it's not a deal breaker, but accepting Shastra, accepting newspaper over Shastra, that's a deal breaker, because that's going to impede your life, spiritual life. In any case, I think it's worthy of noting the observation of this devotee that such controversial topics Prabhupada tended to stay away from, because it's, like I said, it's not a deal breaker for going back to Godhead. And also, that was early on in the movement. So faith was weak. And there have been subsequent discussions by scientists. What does it actually mean we didn't go to the moon? Did we go to Rahu? Or does it mean the moon's further away, but that depends where you're looking from? Is New York further away than London? Well, not if you're in New York, it's not. So it depends, you say something's further away from what? So these discussions, and you could go there, but you didn't go there because you have a material body, so you're not actually in the atmosphere. The subsequent discussions. I'm not a scientist. I'm not part of the BI. I don't want to talk about it much more because I don't know much more other than the few things I heard Prabhupada say, which is that we didn't go. It's kind of like the discussion of falling from, did we fall from the spiritual world, or did we fall from Brahman? Or there is no material world, everything's the spiritual world. So wherever you fall, it must be the spiritual. You can be a real philosopher and kind of make sense out of anything in one way. But so this is the 2 points that come out of this conversation are, where does our faith lie? In Facebook or Srimad Bhagavatam? And maybe there's certain topics that are not necessary for the general devotees. There is another point which is quite interesting, that as you're well aware of, or if you're not, it will make sense when I tell you, that how ISKCON operates in one part of the world may not be appropriate in every detail for another part of the world, because cultures are different, values are different, even laws are different. So generally, you want to apply you want to apply Krishna consciousness in the local environment according to the local culture. So in some places, if you said women are less intelligent, they probably already heard that, growing up or something, and maybe they hated hearing it, or maybe they didn't even think about it. It can have different effects in different places. So in part of the process of communication is that what goes on in one part of ISKCON may be fine for that part of ISKCON, but it may not work in another part. And so sometimes, you might hear something and say, well, in this temple, they're doing this and it's working really well. Yeah, well, that country is so much different from the country I'm in. The people are different, the values are different, the culture is different. Education is different, background is different. So, we have to be flexible also in who we're dealing with. And I think that's Prabhupada's point. Speak the truth, but in a way that's understandable. And also there are points which are not deal breakers for going back to Godhead. So to argue about them can be upsetting and discouraging. But, when we see division is often cultural division. And that's pretty normal and natural. We believe differently about different things. We come from different backgrounds. But at the same time, according to where we're preaching, it may be necessary to explain things or not explain things slightly differently, or just not explain them because it's not appropriate or understandable or relevant. So I think that's important. Otherwise, you could get caught up in trying to understand why some people just don't understand what you understand, and it's a cultural thing. It's not that they don't understand what you understand, but culture is different, so they see it differently. So those are two things we can learn from that. Okay. Some of these things I'm going to read are quite simple and basic, but perhaps we can extract some realization from it in discussion. This is in Mayapur, April 6, 1975. So this is a lecture Prabhupada was giving, and this was during the festival. All thousands of devotees were in Mayapur. Class started late on Facebook. Well, started on time on Zoom.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not able to still broadcast. I don't know why. I'm trying to figure out.
You're a host?
But I'm going to the settings and I'm allowing it, and it says I don't have permit to do it, so I'm checking out.
I think it's due to the password changes. Now something doesn't work right.
You know the new password?
Yeah, I know, and then I went to the settings, but no, it doesn't allow me to.
That's too bad.
I'm
Should I
trying.
you make me the host? Maybe I can do it.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Okay. You are the host now.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Rama.
Gurudev, when you will broadcast, could you please select broadcast on your page and not on your personal Facebook profile?
Please check your email for a message with your code. Okay, everyone, hold on while I check my email and hope they don't have a timer. Check your email. What email am I checking? Okay, it's not that email. Okay, life is interesting. No email. I guess we're not. I guess. Oh, yeah, I got it. Hold on. There's still hope. Hare Krishna. It wants me to create a new password. Hare Krishna. This is complicated.
Oh, really?
For Facebook, it wants me to create a new password. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna. Hare, let's try it again. Hare, Hare. Hare Rama. Now it's just sitting in nowhere's land, doing nothing. Hare Rama. I'll try to do it again. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. No. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Live on Face. Oh, we want to go live on Facebook, right? Okay. I think I'm able to do it. I just changed the. On my timeline, is that correct?
Yes, not on your timeline, sorry, on your Facebook page.
Yeah, but it's on Enlighten. Yeah.
It's already on my Facebook page. Timeline, share to your page. Is that it?
Yes, page.
Okay.
And His Grace is, I think, at the bottom.
I have to find my page. It's on the bottom. Okay. Okay. Hare Krishna. Hare. Okay. So anyone who helps me with social media, the Facebook login has been changed. I will telepathically transmit it to you. It's a familiar login. Okay, so this is from my upload. So one who is spreading Krishna Upadesh, simply repeat what is said by Krishna. Then you become Acharya. Oh yeah, today today's Wednesday. I was supposed to actually, I completely forgot. I was actually supposed to attend. No. I know what happened. Totally spaced out. Okay, so we're okay. We're actually starting on time. You all got special blessings. So that space out was fine. What actually happened was my Wednesday class was pushed over to Thursday. So then I forgot. Yeah, I completely forgot. Anyway, no problem. So it all worked out, right? Yeah. Okay. So welcome to all of you. We just went to the moon and back. For those of you who just arrived, we just went to the moon. At least that's what the newspaper said we did. And Prabhupada said, I believe in the Shastra, not the newspaper. Not that you can't believe in the newspaper sometimes, but if the newspaper differs from the Shastra, then we'll go for the Shastra, unless we misunderstand the Shastra. So this is an interesting lecture. Please pay attention. You're probably not going to like what's being said here, or maybe you won't mind what's being said, but you may not like what I'm going to say. So get ready. You can always exit before I begin speaking. Okay, so one who is spreading Krishna Upadesh, simply repeat what is said by Krishna. Then you become Acharya. That you includes all of you, okay? So don't think this doesn't include you. Like, Prabhupada's not talking about me, of course, because I could never be Acharya, right? No, he's talking about you. You know, you, the one you see every morning when you brush your teeth, that you he's talking about. Not the devotee down the street. You. Suppose you have got now 10,000 devotees. That's Prabhupada saying. We shall expand to 100,000. That is required. Then 100,000 to million, and million to 10 million. What is Prabhupada talking about when he says we will expand? You know, suppose we have 10,000. Prabhupada, you know, there were at least 10,000 devotees in ISKCON when Prabhupada left. So let's go back to what he said in the beginning. Okay, everyone. So one who is spreading Krishna Upadesh, Upadesh means the advice or instructions of Krishna. Have you ever told anybody what Krishna said? Have you ever done that? Probably the answer is yes, of course. All right. Simply repeat what is said by Krishna, then you become Acharya. Wow. Gabrielle is thinking, me, Acharya? I'm Acharya? What are you talking about? I can hardly chant my rounds properly, and I'm Acharya. Well, I didn't say that, Prabhupada said it. Now, this is how you become Acharya. You repeat what Krishna says. Of course, also you do what he says. But then Prabhupada says, now we have 10,000. And Prabhupada was referring to the number of devotees, but he was referring to 10,000 acharyas. That's what he was referring to. Not that now we have 10,000 devotees. Then there'll be 100,000. Then there'll be, what did he go up to? 1 million and then 10 million. 10,000, 100,000, 1 million, 10 million. What was he referring to? Acharyas, gurus. Interesting, isn't it? All of you, you means you, not somebody else. You're all meant to be Acharya. Repeat what Krishna says, you become Acharya. And Prabhupada in another lecture said, he said, but I'm not qualified. How do I become Acharya? And Prabhupada said, repeat what Krishna said, then you're Acharya. Postman, deliver the mail. Don't open it. Don't add anything. Don't take it away. Just get the mail to the right address in one piece. Then you're Acharya. Okay. I probably ruined your day, right? You think, oh my God, I have to become Acharya. You know, you already are, actually. You just have to admit it. That's another thing. You already are Acharya. Acharya's teacher. You're already teaching. So, and ladies and gentlemen, you know what happens when you teach? Should I tell you? People start thinking you're very advanced because they think that whatever you teach, you perfectly follow, right? Isn't it? Well, if you don't realize it, I'm here to tell you that's how they think. And also, when they've been around a little longer, they think, I wonder if she really follows everything she's saying. And they start examining you to see if you actually follow. So, anyway, it's a thought. It doesn't mean you give initiation, because Prabhupada is so important, and we have a problem because when we use the word guru, in ISKCON at this point, 2021, when we use the word guru, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when we say guru? Well, Prabhupada comes to our mind. Maybe Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the current gurus in ISKCON. Well, how many current gurus are there in ISKCON? Well, according to the figures I've read, maybe 100. There are 100 gurus. No, that's wrong. How many devotees are there in ISKCON? That's how many gurus there are, right? So, when we say guru, we think usually Diksha Guru or maybe some senior Siksha gurus. But guru means teacher. You're all gurus, whether you like it or not. If you've told someone about Krishna, you're their guru, whether you like it or not. Now, what are you going to do about that? That's the next thing. Are you going to continue taking care of them and guiding them and setting an example? Yeah, that's what Prabhupada's saying is needed. We need 10 million gurus. So Prabhupada's calculation is 10 million gurus should be enough for 7 billion people. I don't know. Someone do the figures. How many disciples will you have? Well, 8 billion what is it? 8.2 billion now? 8.3 divided by 10 million. Can you do the math, Tanya? Tanya will do it in her head, right? No? You can't be a bona fide Croatian if you can't do that in your head. So, how many disciples will each one of us have? 8 billion divided by 10 million. It's just moving some zeros around, right? Well, if we only had to preach to 10 million, we'd only need one disciple. If we preach to 100 million, we'd need 10. So it's 800, right? Is that right? 830. Did I get it right? Is it 800? We each have to have 830 disciples. Is that correct?
Gurudev,
No.
can you spotlight your video or make me co-host and I can do it?
I can do it on mine.
Oh,
Whoop.
great.
I put speaker view. Well, how do I do spotlight? I go on my video.
On your video, yeah, on the
The
top.
spotlight for everyone. There I am. Always wanted to be in the spotlight. My goal of life. So, Tanya, how you have a calculator there? Should I do it? We're just trying to see how many disciples you all are going to have to fulfill Prabhupada's order.
The point I'm trying to get at is that
Hold on.
Hare Krishna, everyone. You are listening to the Late Morning Program with Namras Pod.
It doesn't want to go away. Hare Krishna. Okay. 8. $8 billion divided by 10 million equals 800. So I said 8.2 or 3. I did in my head. Okay. I just did that to show you I'm a genius. There was no other reason for me to do that. I must have been Indian in my last life that I could calculate in my head like that. But that was easy calculation. So you all have to have 830 disciples. Okay. So if you all live another 50 years, that means you should like 16, 17 new people you take under your wing every year. And then by the time you're my age, you'll have 800. What do you think? You don't have to initiate them unless, Okay, that's a problem though. When you're older and you've been their guru for 50 years, they're going to want to take initiation from you. It's a trap. Anyway, this is what Prabhupada wants us to do. So face up to it, ladies and gentlemen. This is what Prabhupada created ISKCON for us to take care of people. Okay, so now we're reading an offering in which the story of Putana came up. And you remember we had talked about Putana. She tried to kill Krishna, but she got the position of mother. And so in this offering, Giriraj Swami is saying, well, like you're not like Putana, but like Putana, like, no, you're not like Putana. You're like Krishna, that you see the good in everyone. So just as Krishna took Putana as a mother, you take everyone. You see what's good in them. So he writes, you said that it is a mark of a good man that he sees the good side, not the bad side of others. You gave the example of your Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta had a disciple named Kunja Bihari. People used to call him Kunja Babu, who you said came to do business with your Guru Maharaj. To profit personally from his relationship with him and from his service to the Gaudiya Math. Doesn't sound good, does it? Kick him out, get rid of him. He's coming to take advantage. But you said that your Guru Maharaj didn't focus on Kunja's dark side, that he was coming to make business, but on his bright side, that he was coming to offer service. Hare Krishna. That's amazing, don't you think? I think, we have, it's difficult to understand the mentality of someone like this on this level, right? Someone's coming to take advantage of your movement and you're just seeing the service side. That's amazing, right? We need more of that, don't you think, in our movement, in your heart? Don't you think you need more of that? Seeing the good, overlooking the bad. I don't even think Bhaktisiddhanta overlooked the bad. I don't think he saw it, actually. Or if he saw it, it's like it didn't, sometimes you see something, but it doesn't register. There's nowhere in your consciousness that that's even important. So I was meditating on this. Right? This is like such an important point, because so many of the problems that we face in relationships are because we're focused on the bad more than the good. And the solution is focusing more on the good than the bad. So this is, pretty extreme. He's actually coming to use the Gaudiya Math to further his material position. Now, what I have to say is he did serve the Gaudiya Math. He did help it a lot. He was one of the main persons who broadcast, who made Bhaktisiddhanta popular. So he was seeing that's what he's doing. And at one time they said, he's stealing money. And Bhaktisiddhanta said, yeah, but he's not stealing as much as it would cost to pay someone to do what he's doing. So somehow or other, he was okay with it, which, could you imagine, what kind of controversy that must have, or problem that must have created in Gaudiya Math, and he's okay with it. Wow, crazy. And I'm not saying, okay, if somebody comes to ISKCON and steals money, just make sure you give him Mahaprasad and be nice to them. But I'm not even talking about practically, I'm talking philosophically now, just understanding this principle. It's amazing. So Giriraj Swami is saying, it's like Krishna with Putana. He just sees the mother and rewards her for being a mother. And Prabhupada, and you were like that with us. You took the good. So that's, obviously there are different practical situations that we have to deal with. We don't overlook situations when devotees are being harmed or hurt. We deal with it. But this is just, sometimes you have to discuss things philosophically, devoid of putting it in any context that's going on, so you can just get the concept. Because if you look at it through a specific filter, you won't get the concept because it won't make sense. So how could you say that? Because, just yesterday in our temple, someone stole money, and so we kicked him out. Okay, that's fine. That's what you need to do for whatever reason. Or you could embrace him and just, give him gulabs and say, please give the money back. Whatever your strategy is, that's a different issue. So I think when we discuss something, we first need to discuss it just in theory, and then application can come according to time, place, and circumstance. And so this is just the idea that he's seeing the good. And, you go, but if you see the good in this person, he'll end up abusing people. Yeah, that's a fact, but we're not talking about that right now. We're just talking about the principle. Is that okay? I don't want to get in trouble, because I understand that, you can't just embrace, thieves left and right, and people who are trying to cheat ISKCON or destroy it. We can't embrace them. That's for sure. But this devotee was actually doing tremendous service. It's just he was siphoning money from Gaudiya Math, and he ended up getting Gaudiya Math property, at least one in his name, of his own organization. So Hare Krishna. But my realization in this is, like, when you're talking about how practically to deal with someone in some situation, it's a separate situation. It's a separate topic from this topic of appreciating and seeing the good. All right, I see the good in you, Tanya, but you did steal the money. So you got an appointment down at the police department right now, because I just called them. So then Tanya's like, well, if you appreciate me, why'd you call the police department? And I said, well, I called the police department because I'm afraid you're going to steal everything else in the temple. But as a Vaishnava, I appreciate all the service you did. So, sometimes it's hard to balance both, but that's actually, like we talk about that in the forgiveness workshop, okay, you hurt me. I appreciate you're a devotee, and you're trying your best, and you're struggling. It's just, you hurt me, and I don't want to be hurt again. So I have boundaries. So, all right, that's a personal decision. But you can still appreciate the person that they're struggling and they're trying, they're a sincere devotee. They just, they're challenged. So I think, it's important to isolate these points. Otherwise, sometimes it doesn't make sense. You go, look at that point. If we all felt like that, people would take advantage of ISKCON. And certainly Prabhupada doesn't want us to allow people to take advantage of ISKCON. And Prabhupada kicked someone out of ISKCON who stole. Well, he kicked him out the second time he stole. He gave him a chance the first time. Gave him a chance the first time and told him, if you steal again, we'll call the police. And then they caught him the second time, and that's what Prabhupada did. So does it mean that Prabhupada doesn't appreciate this person or is not seeing the good? No, it just means he appreciates the property of ISKCON and doesn't want it to be stolen. One time, there was someone who was cooking in Mayapur, and the person was going home, and they had some ghee that they had taken from the kitchen. And Prabhupada saw it. He goes, grab him, get him. Prabhupada is very sensitive to, taking care of Krishna's property. So, we have to sometimes you have to compartmentalize philosophical ideas and, digest them in a compartment, and then think, okay, well, how is this going to apply in every situation? Because one of the things that I understand that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta is teaching by these things, it's like he's saying, okay, look at how I'm thinking. You might want to think that way also. That's basically what he's saying. And also, when something is going very much in one direction and it's too far, it's out of balance, sometimes you'll stretch it like way on the other side out of balance because you have to bring it back. But if this were here, you would never go this far. You would never say these things because it's here. You wouldn't have to. But when it goes here, sometimes you might say something very, very heavy, right? So I think that's what I read into a lot of statements of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, that sometimes I get the sense that there was a lot of criticism going on, and he wanted to balance it by saying or acting in ways that maybe wouldn't be the best in every situation, but he wanted to communicate an idea. So he's definitely communicating the idea here of appreciation. And Giriraj Swami is saying that this was Prabhupada's nature. And then he he tells a story. What's the story? Oh yeah. Some devotee was, I think, smoking marijuana, and it came to Prabhupada. So Prabhupada told the secretary, tell him if he doesn't stop, I will reject him. So the devotee says, Prabhupada, would you ever reject a disciple? He said, no, I would never reject. He said, but, I have to say that, because I don't know how to get him to, I want him to stop, so I have to say that. So, Prabhupada would never reject anybody. Only by the behavior of a person would that person be rejected. Okay, if this is how you think, this is what you say, then you won't fit. I can't help you anymore. That's the Guru says, I can't help you. It's a kind of rejection. I don't know what to do for you. I can't help you. You're lost. You're gone. You're finished. It's like, and you won't listen to me, so I can't help you. So it's not that the Guru is rejecting the disciple, but he's rejecting helping the disciple because, it's a time management issue. Why spend time with someone who doesn't listen, right? I've got other things to do, other people to help that will listen. So it's a bit like that. So he's just he's showing that no matter what a devotee does, Prabhupada would never reject them, unless the devotee himself rejected Prabhupada or became offensive to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, okay, this is not going to work. And there were cases like that when former disciples came and they were offensive, and Prabhupada just said, leave, go, like that. So then the Guru Swami tells another story. There was a man who used to meet Prabhupada in Mumbai on the beach when they would go for walks. And sometimes this man would argue. And this man would get really upset. And he had a weak heart, and his friends would say, don't get so upset. You have a weak heart. You could have a heart attack. He knew a lot, but he had Mayavad tendencies and just kind of general Hindu tendencies. So then, if you say Krishna is God and others aren't, they could get upset. Or if you condemn Mayavadis, why are you condemning? Why are you criticizing? So devotees would ask Prabhupada, why do you tolerate this person? And Prabhupada said, okay, I'll read what he said. It is our duty to engage everyone. And there was an article. A Bombay doctor, this man's a doctor, wins the title Big Fool, and he loves it. Prabhupada used to call him Big Fool. So Prabhupada was tolerant with this person. And he was saying that this person is like, he's a devotee, but sometimes he acts like a Mayavadi because of association with Mayavadis. And he's kind of he's many people in one. Let us give him a chance. Even though he's preaching Mayavad, arguing with Prabhupada, let us give him a chance. So this verse about Putana, it's a verse in which Putana is used as an example to show how merciful Krishna is. And the verse says, since you're so merciful, who else should I take shelter of? Who is there more merciful a person to take shelter of than you? So Guru Swami keeps going back to this verse and describing the same thing about Prabhupada. You did this. Who's more merciful? Who is there to take shelter of that could be more merciful than you? So there's one more story. Hold on. No. Mhm. Yeah. No. Mm. Oh, yeah. I was looking for this. I said, this Dr. Patel, sometimes it seemed like he was a devotee, and sometimes it seemed like it was a Mayavadi. And so Prabhupada was asked, like, what is he? And Prabhupada told a story. He said, well, there was once a man who spoke many languages, and he would speak the language of the people he was with. So nobody actually knew what his native tongue was. And they wanted to find out. So once someone came up from behind him and smashed him in the ears, and the man started cursing. And so he understood he's going to curse in his native language. So he said that's how they found out what his native language is. And so Prabhupada said, when I get heavy with this Dr. Patel, then he becomes a Mayavadi. So he said, at heart, he's really a Mayavadi. And he seems like a devotee, he seems like a good Hindu, but when I call him a rascal, he becomes a Mayavadi. So that's how we know. Funny story. Mm. So again, the Prabhupada was asked, why do you put up with him? And Prabhupada said, it's our duty to engage everyone. Amazing. Right? I know it's hard to be merciful. And we do have examples where Prabhupada was apparently not merciful because he had to protect the movement and protect devotees. So if someone is a rascal, Prabhupada would be merciful, but if he kept being a rascal or worse, or specifically disturbing others, then Prabhupada would. Okay, Prabhupada's always merciful, but how he acts towards the person may change. The mercy it may not look like mercy. But the devotee is always merciful, even if it doesn't look like mercy, right? It's like, that story when Takaharidas was put in prison for the crime of chanting Hare Krishna. For a Muslim is chanting Hare Krishna, that's like he should be arrested for that, right? That crime. So the prisoners were pretty happy. They thought, oh, here's a sadhu, by his power, he can get us out of prison. And Takaharidas basically saying, like, I'm not going to let you out of prison, You're like, you have to follow principles in prison. You leave prison, you'll just be degraded again. So that was his mercy, to not do anything to get them out of prison. So mercy comes in different packages. So here's a statement I wanted to read. This is this is from Hridayananda Maharaj. Just as Lord Krishna commanded Arjuna, just be my instrument, Bhagavad Gita 11:33, Bhagavad Gita. So you urged us to try to become Krishna's instruments, just as Lord Krishna himself had already slain the warriors whom urged Arjuna to fight. So you revealed to us Lord Chaitanya has already spread his Sankirtan movement around the world. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna was encouraging Arjuna to fight by saying, I've already arranged the battle. So whether you fight or not, they're going to die. You fight, then you're doing what I want you to do, which is good for you. Plus, you'll get acknowledged as the great warrior who won the battle. So then Prabhupada says to Hridayananda Maharaj, then Prabhupada continues, he urged Arjuna to fight, so you revealed to us that Lord Chaitanya has already spread his Sankirtan movement around the world. Arjuna had only to fight a war already won by Krishna, and we have only to spread a Sankirtan movement that Lord Krishna himself has already spread. So Prabhupada said to him, why don't you take the credit? Otherwise, Lord Krishna will give the credit to other devotees. And actually, Prabhupada said this in a class that I was in. So he would say that, I think he've said it even more than twice, like, Lord Chaitanya wants this movement spread. He needs people, he needs volunteers. You know, it's like, hey, I'm making a movie. I need some actors. Like, I'll make the movie whether you volunteer to act or not. The movie's going on. I'll get there will be actors. I'm just giving you the opportunity. That's the idea. Whether or not you like it, the movie's going on. That's the idea. But if you want to participate, then you will be on the credits at the end of the movie. Your name will be there. So that's I think, an impetus to help spread Krishna consciousness. Okay. Do we have a lot of questions? Or just a lot of like, what's going on questions? Like, why are we, is that what we have there? I guess I should check.
Yeah, Gabby has a comment, Gabriela, on the
Oh.
chat.
Okay, we'll take a comment. Usually after an hour, I take a comment. There's only one comment. Okay. 800. Yeah. All right. The bad news today is all of you are going to have to have 830 disciples before you die. But if someone takes 1,660 disciples, 1,659 disciples, you only have to take one. So you just have to partner up with someone who has a lot more. Gabriel says, I have the idea that people who try to be nice to everyone and to try to see the best in others are not very accepted in this world. Taken advantage of sometimes, right? Sometimes it seems that the environment requires you to put yourself in favor of some people or ideas and against others. How devotees from the past dealt with this, how to handle this. In present, when people have too many expectations of people and their behavior. We're kind of descending in from theory to practice, and the practice, as I said, will differ in differing situations. So one rule of thumb, of course, is what is the best for the Krishna consciousness movement? Another rule of thumb, what is best for the devotees involved in this situation? Another rule of thumb is what is best for you. Now, just because something is best for you doesn't mean actually it's necessarily the best decision to take. It may be best for you because maybe you have some weakness or problem, which if you didn't have, you wouldn't be concerned about the situation or how things are coming down. So all these things have to be taken in consideration. But if we go back to the point that I was making is what we see in the life of Prabhupada is that Prabhupada was so detached that he could act anyway. And by anyway, I don't mean he would do anything, but he would do whatever was best for an individual devotee, a group of devotees, and or the Krishna conscious movement. And sometimes that action may not appear to be the action of a sadhu. But Prabhupada could always explain why it was the action of a sadhu and how what you may have thought Prabhupada was thinking or feeling or seeing in order to act that way, may have been wrong, because it might seem like he was really angry and he was envious or he was critical or whatever. But we understand from being around Prabhupada, we understand that he was concerned about Krishna, the deity or the movement, or the devotees, his disciples, the welfare of others. So I don't know if you know this story. When devotees were first in India, they were doing a program. They were on stage, and I think some people wanted the devotees to come down and dance with them. I think the previous night they had done that. And some men were pulling like on the saris of the devotees, obviously female devotees. I don't know the details, but anyway, Prabhupada saw that or something like that. And Prabhupada got his kartos up, started swinging, get out of here. It's like he was protecting his devotees from, who knows what could happen when a man's pulling on a woman's sari. You don't know what's next, right? So you always protect the devotees, especially if a man is pulling on a woman's sari. Yeah, definitely you jump in and protect. So someone may not understand that. Sometimes Prabhupada chastised people in public lectures and got angry. People misunderstood it. So we understood that person, either that person needed to learn a lesson, the audience needed to learn the lesson, and Prabhupada wanted to make the point strongly. That person was offending Krishna, and Prabhupada became upset out of love. So you always want to, if you're dealing with the pure devotee, you're always going to want to try to understand how that action is being generated by Krishna consciousness, some aspect of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, you would assume it's just the modes of nature. At least when we're dealing with Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we understand that there's no influence of the modes of nature. So in their pure devotees, and that could only be coming from their pure love for Krishna. Then you say, yeah, but what about everybody else? Okay, give them the benefit of the doubt to start with. But at the same time, we have a duty to stand up for devotees if they're being mistreated, at least do something. But the point that I've made over and over again is that there's always this fine line between doing your duty and slipping into the mode of ignorance. Because, when you get upset, that could cause you to offend devotees. Or it can trigger all kinds of traumas in your life. And then you start, not acting properly. So I think that's important to understand. I find that, I think we all find this, and it's interesting to ponder. I have a really difficult time when devotees are mistreated. It triggers something in me very deeply. And I actually have to control myself. Otherwise, I could easily offend the devotee who is offending or misbehaving. Because it's an integrity issue with me. You're a devotee, you should act this way. And it gets worse the higher you go up. You're a leader, you should act this way. You're a guru, you should act this way. So I have triggers around that, which could trigger bad behavior on my part. So then I'm condemning somebody for bad behavior, and now I'm acting with bad behavior. Okay, that doesn't make any sense. So anytime there's a situation that really upsets you, I would suggest to just hit the pause button and ask the question, why is this upsetting me so much? And reflect on it. Say, this has triggered something in me that I need to work on or be aware of or heal or whatever, however you want to deal with it. At least begin with awareness. And that trigger could then cause me to say the wrong thing, make an offense to someone, make an improper suggestion of how to resolve the situation, mistreat, and so forth. So then I could easily end up mistreating somebody for mistreating somebody else. That's my response. You understand what I'm saying. The medicine is often worse than the disease. So I think this is really important. And we all see things in ISKCON and in our lives that are upsetting, but some things are more upsetting than others, right? Isn't it? And I think it's easy to connect the dots, right? If you were abused in a certain way and you see another person being abused in that way, that's upsetting. There's no question. And we all understand why, because you were abused that way. You're sensitive to that. And in one sense, there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you recognize this is why I feel this way, because I've been through this, and this could take me, it'll be a lot. It could take a lot of healing before I get over this, if I ever get over it, and maybe I never will get over it. But at least let me be aware of it, so that when I'm in this situation, I don't say something that I will regret, or I don't treat somebody in the wrong way. And so this is really important. This is very, very common. And then what happens is the issues get clouded, because now it's your issue more than the issue of what's happening. It's all being filtered through your own trauma. And all of a sudden, the perpetrator, what he did is like much worse than what he actually did, because what he did is a catalyst for your own trauma. Now you see it in that heightened emotional state, so it looks worse. Right? Not always, but it can. At least it's a possibility to be aware of that could happen, right? So I know, for example, some devotees either due to past samskars or having parents who are very heavy, very anti-authority. It's just like they can't deal with authority, it's a bit of a challenge, since, we have authorities in ISKCON, like shastras, sadhus, gurus. It's really a challenge if you have a problem with authority, because if you want to get initiated, like sometimes I joke, like, why do you want to get initiated? Then you're supposed to actually do what this person says. And what if you don't agree with what they say? You're going to tell them, I think you're stupid. I'm not going to do that. You can't do that. You're in a movement where that's just not the culture. So, if you have issues with authorities or following instructions or whatever, it's good to be aware, this could be a potential problem, and I could offend somebody inadvertently just because they told me something that I didn't think was correct. And, I've been misled by authorities in the past, and it's, subconsciously what's coming out now is the trauma is being reacted. And I'm attacking this person when I actually should heal the trauma from the person who attacked me 10 years ago. Then I wouldn't attack this person. So, like I said, I'm not holding anybody liable to be perfect, but I will hold you liable to be aware. And I will hold you liable to control your responses. I think that much we can be liable for. I understand we've all been through like all kinds of stuff, isn't it, in our lives? We all go through trauma all the time, a little bit, big, from the top of ISKCON down to the bottom. You're trying to serve, and then, groups of devotees turn against you. This happens. I've seen this happen to God brothers. They're the devotees that made everyone devotees, and all the devotees they made turned against them, or most of them. What does that do to you? How do you heal from that? Do you ever heal from that? Hridayananda Maharaj said that, when he became a guru, at a certain point, there was a culture of kind of like hatred towards any of those original 11, because it looked like they had stolen the movement from Prabhupada. And he said that he never did or subscribed to any of those behaviors that maybe other gurus had done that indicated they were trying to belittle Prabhupads. He said, but he got condemned for it. And maybe even to this day with Ritviks. And then he said something. And he's, obviously a senior advanced devotee. He said, I don't know if I'll ever recover from this trauma. I was deeply hurt by it. And he said, and it affects me. It affects my participation in ISKCON. So here we're seeing senior, very renounced person, very intelligent person. So we're all affected by it. But he's still in ISKCON. He didn't leave. He's still working in a system that sometimes works against him. So that's my point, you recognize the trauma, you understand why, why am I behaving this way? And you at least behave properly, although internally you may be a mess. And you're a mess, and you got triggered by this. But as long as you understand you got triggered, you can say, okay, I just have to calm down before I, go on Facebook and make my statement about what's going on in ISKCON, internationally or locally or whatever. Yeah, I think you can all understand this. I think it's pretty clear, right? This is happening to everybody. It happens to me all the time when devotees are mistreated. Oh my God. And I think some of you know that. You've probably heard me say things. Whenever a devotee is unfairly treated, I don't know why. I don't think I was ever unfairly, but maybe I was. Yeah. If you've been in ISKCON long enough, you've probably been unfairly treated somewhere and sometime. Yeah, I was actually not allowed to come back to a temple that I was the president of. So that's kind of unfair, right? Hare Krishna. And it didn't get better after I left also. That makes it worse. So, and other things, relationships break up, people leave you. It's traumatizing, isn't it? And then, it's like, okay, I don't want any relationship. Some devotees don't want to be gurus. They don't want relationships because they've been traumatized by relationships. I don't want to get that close to people. I can't have a disciple and give them my love and affection, and then 10 years later they go off and drinking and pubbing and discoing and this and that. I won't be able to deal with it. So it's not going to have any. So we're all affected. It's not easy. That's a fact. Hare Krishna. I don't know how we got on that. What was I reading that? How did we get there?
No, that you were answering a question from Gabriela.
Okay. The mad professor got somewhere, but he didn't know how he got there. Now, the next question I have is, Gabriela, did that answer your question, or did I totally go off on something that didn't answer it? Can we take this, the next question, can we take this as Krishna's mercy to depend more on him? This is, I don't know, it's a bit of a sensitive issue to call something Krishna's mercy, right? I just cut my finger. Was it Krishna's mercy? Well, I was thinking it probably was, karmically, I should have cut my hand off or my arm. And Krishna said, oh yeah, just a little. And it was like gushing blood, like gallons of blood, but it doesn't hurt. I can't figure out, how do you cut your finger like that? And it's just basically, cut right through the nail and a bunch of skin. And it hurt for hardly at all. And it doesn't hurt now. I'm afraid to look at it because then I'll faint if I look at it. But then I was thinking, maybe I was supposed to cut my hand off, maybe, so if I'm sitting there, I'm in pain, I just cut my finger, I did something stupid, I don't know if I can give class, and everyone's going, Gurudev, it's Krishna's mercy, just relax, just calm down, it's Krishna's mercy, right? Okay, so in answer to your question, it's such an interesting discussion because you have philosophy, right? And you have compassion, and philosophy can trump compassion sometimes, right? Because this sounds funny to you, right? What I just said. Oh, Gurudev, Mahatma Prabhu, you're not the body. Get over it. It's right there. Haven't you read Bhagavad Gita? You're like, what's wrong? You know that shloka, right? You're not the body. You're just transmigrating. It's not your thumb. You've had so many thumbs in so many lives. What's the problem? So have you ever seen that? How philosophy just like destroys compassion? Isn't that like, I think I should write a whole book on that topic. How philosophy destroys compassion. Maybe I'll just do a video. It's a lot faster than writing a book. It only takes 5 minutes. That's why I love those videos. I can just talk for 5 minutes without even thinking about it. Well, not that I can't think about it, but I've already thought about it, so it's easy. Well, the problem is I write down my little sutras here, and then next week I go and read them. I go, what is that? Philosophy trumps compassion. What does that mean? So you take our philosophy, right? Just verbatim, it can look like it lacks a lot of compassion. So Anuradha or someone on Facebook says, can we take it as Krishna's mercy? And say, yeah, you can take it for yourself that way, but don't throw that on somebody else. I just got in a car accident in the hospital, 28 broken bones. Krishna's mercy, Prabhu, you probably should have had 108 broken bones. You should be grateful. That person can think that way on their own, but it's not really, but if that person says to you, it's Krishna's mercy because my life was going, I was really compromised in my son. I wasn't reading, and now I'm just reading all day in the hospital, and it's just like amazing. I feel so Krishna conscious. And then you can agree and say, yeah, it does seem like maybe this is Krishna's mercy. But to say it when, as soon as the accident happens, yeah. So philosophy, then it destroys, it can destroy compassion. And that this, I've talked about it, and you can see it, how philosophy can be dangerous because its understanding and application can actually backfire in many ways. And, we don't want a philosophy that makes us less human than the average person on the street, do we? Less compassionate. But it can, right? So that's an issue. You see, Gabriella, when the question is asked and I don't know the actual situation, like you say, if you put yourself in favor of some people or ideas against others, yeah. I'm not saying if an idea is wrong or it's against Prabhupada, you shouldn't say it. No, that's your duty to say it. As long as you know you're standing on firm ground. But it's not your duty to offend anybody when you say it. Respectful dialogue. That's, this just happened. You go to the temple president and say, this happened. This is not right, in my opinion. From what I understand of our philosophy and Prabhupada, he wouldn't want this. We need to do something about it. Or sometimes in our own life, sometimes we might feel we're being abused by someone who feels they have a right to abuse us because they're our authority. And I would never say that you should accept abuse. I would never say that. What I would say is that you should all, should all be aware that you could be abused by someone who's not supposed to abuse you. And if that's the case, you should humbly distance yourself. Don't punch the person in the nose. 2 wrongs don't make a right, but be aware that, yeah, you do need boundaries because you have to maintain your own creeper. I mean, that's part of your duty as devotees to maintain your devotional creeper. So, and then you might say, well, it's difficult. I feel like this is abuse. And then someone else may say, no, you're just getting good instruction. It's not abuse. And then you'll say, yeah, you're probably right, but it's affecting me like abuse and it's not healthy for me. So, it would be better if I could take the instruction, but I can't. It feels like abuse. So maybe I have to back out a little bit. All right. So at least you've understood it, right? And so whatever you do, when you understand it that way, okay, at least you're not in any illusion about what's going on. And if it is abuse, that's sometimes you're in illusion that it's not abuse. That's the other side of the equation, right? No, I should be humble. I'm just offensive. I deserve this. That's why this devotee is heavying me out. No. We just had an incident recently where a devotee was inadvertently actually abusing another devotee, but he didn't know he was doing it. He was just preaching. He was preaching the straight sauce. And that straight sauce was mentally, psychologically destroying the devotee. But the devotee thought, well, this is probably what I need. And the devotee said, my goal in life is to destroy your false ego. Well, if anybody tells you their goal in life is to destroy your false ego, you might want to take a few steps back. It may not be a healthy relationship. Especially if you're married to them, you might want to take more than a few steps back. Or take a few steps to your nearest marriage counselor and deal with it ASAP. So, so that's the other side of the equation. You either react against something that isn't abuse as abuse, or you don't react against abuse. So yeah, I have to be, but the bottom line is you have to take care of your spiritual life. And so sometimes it's like, I know I should be able to deal with this, but I can't. And so the fact is I can't, so don't fake it. It's like, I know I should be able to digest stones. I mean, if I had a good digestion, I could just go outside and chew those pebbles and digest them. I know that's true because Prabhupada said, if you have good digestion, you can digest even stones. I think some animals eat stones, don't they? Or something hard as stones. Yeah. So, and I'm like totally depressed because I can't digest stones. I'm so bad. There's something wrong with me. I'm such a bad devotee. I can't digest stones. Okay, yeah, your digestion could be better. If it was better, you could digest stones. But the fact is you can't. So don't eat them. And it's kind of simple, right? You don't have to get mental about it. Oh, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I can't digest stones. I'm so bad, I should probably kill myself. No, it's just, I can't digest stones. It's a reality. I'm not going to eat stones. I'll eat dal rice and chapatis. Okay, that's it. So sometimes it's like, I know I should take the sauce, but I can't. It's driving me crazy. And, I'm a certain person, a personality this way, or I've been through experiences in my life that I'm extremely sensitive. And when people speak that way to me, I can't deal with it. I just, I get angry or depressed, or I stop chanting. I'm like, okay, so deal with it, distance yourself. Tell the person, I can't deal with this. And they'll say, I'm just smashing your false ego. I say, well, I'm sorry, I can't keep you as my mentor anymore because, my false ego is like really bruised right now and I'm in pain. All right, that's just what it is. So the point is you have to protect yourself, whatever that means, right? Like sometimes you ever try to chant your rounds in the temple with a devotee who's chanting their rounds and it looks like they were endowed with a sound system as a voice. Those kind of devotees. It's like, they don't need a lot. I can't even, with my speaking through a microphone, it's not as loud as them without a microphone. Those do it. I don't know how they do it. Like I'm looking at them, it's like, do you have an amplifier in your chest? Like, this is amazing. It's like, we can hear you, on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. This is like amazing. How do you do that? Have you ever been in a temple like that? And you're like, I know I should stay in the temple and chant my rounds. There's only one problem. I'm listening to his rounds, not my rounds. You ever been in that situation? Yeah. So, you have to make a decision, it's like, well, everybody says chant with the devotees, so I'll go home, I'll fall asleep, or I'll go on Facebook or whatever. But these rounds that I can't, it's like, why should I even chant? Because I'm not even hearing myself. I would have to scream louder than him to hear my rounds. So, this is whatever kind of strange example it is, but I think it's similar. Like sometimes you'll say, well, I know it's not the best that I leave the temple, but I know it's better that I hear my rounds than not hear them. So, something like that. Maybe it's not the best that I distance myself from this devotee who's doing a really good job of smashing my false ego, but right now I'm not in the false ego smashing mood. So I think I need distance. Now, Gabrielle, did that answer your question? So I wasn't sure I actually answered it properly. And now we have more. Okay. Yeah. So we have a few minutes. Trying to get to the next message. For 6 disciples are also acharyas, then we don't have to instruct all 800. No, you have to instruct your 800 disciples to become acharyas. And you can serve them. They're acharyas. Prabhupada said, you're all my gurus. This class was not on Facebook. It says live on Facebook. Okay, so should we change the name of the class? What to do if you can't digest stones? Okay, so I guess I'm going to end. How do I end? I go click on Facebook and say stop live stream?
Yeah,
Setting?
yeah. In Zoom, you stop live stream.
Okay, stopped.
Yeah, and if you want to start doing again
Oh,
for
I-
the job, sorry, I cannot do it because I don't have the.
okay, let's do it again. Live on Facebook. Dun, da, da. So what do I call it? Japa?
Japa Sangha or Japa.
Uh-oh. That didn't work. Yapa. Share on your page. And then what page do I share it
His
on?
Grace. His Grace.
HG. We are now going live. And then we have to hit record also, right?
Yeah, I think Krista should stop recording it and then I can start.
Are we still recording from the last class?
Yes. I think if not, I can record it from in my. Oh no.
It says recording. No,
Okay. Yeah, but it's from the last class.
I don't
Can
see
you
a way.
stop? Can you
I
stop
don't-
recording? On the bottom, it says record.
It doesn't allow me to stop.
I think it's Krista who should. I will write to her.
Okay. So, Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna a todos.
Summary of last class, don't eat stones if you can't digest them.
El resumen de la clase pasada, si no puedes digerir piedras, no comas piedras.
Yes. So was I talking in the last class, in the last Japa Sangha about, I don't think I was, about hankering. Was I talking about that hankering for a higher state of japa? Was I talking about that or no? Yeah. No.